So, last few years I've managed to grow my chest a little bit from here to here, and it's actually one of the more easier muscles to target if you learn a few little tweaks and focus on a few certain things, and it does make a massive difference to your physique as well in terms of its aesthetic. So if I was to start again from the gym, knowing what I know now, this is what I'd be doing to get an aesthetic armor plated chest. So let's go. So the first thing to know before we jump into the exercise is understanding that the chest is made up of sort of three groups, let's say. You've got the upper chest, you've got the middle chest, and you've got the lower chest. And this is important because each of these sections, let's say, have different muscle fibers which run in different directions. So it's important that we hit them correctly with a good variation of exercises. But the beautiful thing about chest is it's not too complicated. There's going to be two main movements you're going to do. One are going to be pressing movements and the other are going to be flies. The pressing movements are going to be your compound movements which involve multiple joints. That means you can lift heavier weights with these sort of movements, and the second type of movement is a fly. These are your isolation movements, which means it's a lot lighter weight but you can get that proper nice squeeze and really get that mind muscle connection when it comes to training your chest. But if you're short on time or something and you really just want to get in and out of the gym, compound exercises, so the pressing movements would be your go-to. So in my experience, the best exercises that grew my chest were actually the incline pressing movements. And a way to do that and target your upper fibers is by setting your bench on a 45-degree angle, because anything too higher than that and you're sort of going into shoulder territory because it's too vertical. Or you can just use an incline barbell bench press, which is what we're going to talk about now. So with the incline barbell bench press, what you want to do is make sure your head is well rested on the top of the pad and make sure your feet are well planted on the floor. And this is key when you're doing any pressing movement with your chest. You basically want to retract your shoulder blades and pin it back. And that way you got your chest already stuck out, and then you want to press from that movement. Every time you go like that and press like that, you can see the front dial getting activated. We don't want that. And then when you're doing the incline bench press, you want to make sure you get a good stretch at the bottom of the movement and then press up. And as you press up, imagine you're trying to bring these two hands together, and you can see just by doing that the chest gets activated, right? And then another thing is you don't want to flare your elbows out too wide because it puts a bit of unnecessary tension on your joint. So a little bit outside shoulder width and tuck your elbows in a little bit, and that's where the angle you want to press from. Right, and the next exercise is the incline dumbbell press. It's very similar in terms of the setup. You know, you want to be on that 45-degree angle, and then when you get the dumbbells up, the same thing. You want to get down and get a really good stretch on your chest, and then when you come back up, imagine trying to squeeze your elbows together at the top of the movement. And another important thing with this is I like to really keep my elbows tucked in because I flared it out before and it caused some unnecessary tension on my shoulders, sorry. So keep your elbows nice and tucked for that safety aspect, and just think about pressing up and through your chest. So the next compound movement or the pressing movement that we want to focus on is the dip. The dip is the killer in terms of growing your lower chest because it gives you a stretch like no other exercise does, in my opinion, for the lower chest. And as you start getting stronger with the dip as well, you can start adding weights and really start progressively overloading with your chest. So with the dip, make sure you're not shrugged in like that with your shoulder. You want your shoulders to be depressed as much as possible, and then keep your elbows not too flared out because it puts unnecessary tension on your elbow joint. So you want to keep your elbows nice and tucked, and then when you go down, have a slight lean forward, and that little lean forward just puts a bit more tension on that chest. And then when you get to the bottom, you get a really good stretch. This is where the dip is the best for that lower chest. So if you're finding you're not really feeling your chest that much, it's probably because your grip's too narrow. So make your grip a little bit wider if you can, and then do that dip, and you'll find a lot of growth coming from your lower chest. So with these exercises that I mentioned to you, the incline barbell bench press, incline dumbbell press, and the dips, these are all compound movements, so you want to treat it as such when it comes to the reps and progression. So with these, you want to pick a rep range for around 8 to 12 reps. So let's say, for example, 8 reps, and you want to give yourself 3 sets to do that. And the game is every week that you go, try to get a little bit stronger than you did last week. So for example, if this week I went and did my incline bench press for 3 sets of 50 kg, next week I'm going to go in and try get 3 sets of 52.5 kg. Now this is imperative, bro. If you want to make progress with your chest, you have to progressively overload. So keep that in mind. So set that rep range and try and improve on it week by week. And next up are the old flies. The flies are really nice to add some extra volume into your workouts and get some extra sets for your chest. So if you've got the time, definitely include them. You don't need to be doing loads and loads of sets, just a few sets with high reps. So like 15 to 20 reps. And the aim of the game with the flies is just to get a really good mind muscle connection and really get a good squeeze into your chest, because you can go till failure really safely with these exercises. And an extra point is I'd recommend using cable flies over dumbbells, because cable has a constant range of tension when you're doing the movement. See, with the dumbbells, at the top of the movement there isn't any tension, and as you go to the bottom that's where the tension is, because at the top there's nothing pulling it. Whereas with the cable, even at the bottom of the movement you're feeling the stretch, and even at the top you're feeling that stretch. So if you could pick one over the other, definitely stick with those cables. If you want to progressively overload with these isolation movements, something you can do is decrease your rest time. So your basically chest is still more fatigued when you go into your next set. So if you're having a 45-second rest one week, cut it back to 40 seconds. Another thing you do is increase the time under tension week by week. So for example, if you're going quite quick with your reps, maybe the next week that you go, really focus on getting a good negative and really putting more tension and time under tension onto your chest. And the next really useful tip is, I know a lot of people struggle with feeling their chest in the compound movements, because you know your triceps, your shoulders might be involved. So one thing you can do is pre-exhaust your chest with doing a few isolation sets. So when you've warmed up and before you're doing your incline bench press, just do 2 or 3 sets really light of those flies on the cable, and that way you'll get a slight burn in your chest, really small. But then when you start doing your pressing movements, you've got that pre-exhaustion there, so you'll feel your chest a lot more when you're doing those compound lifts. So keep that in mind if you're struggling to feel your chest. And here's another thing as well, bro. You've got to remember your sleep and nutrition is key. It doesn't matter if you do all this work in the gym, if you're not sleeping and eating right, your muscles are not getting the time to rest and it's not getting the fuel to recover. So make sure you got those dialed in. Our goal here is not to be a one-dimensional gym lad. It's to use the gym as a part of your life so that you can grow and expand in other areas as well. If you're getting good at the gym, think about how you can improve your positive thinking. Think about how you can improve in other areas of your life in terms of improving your habits. So remember that as well. We're not just one-dimensional people here. We want to be improving in as many areas as we possibly can. So remember, bro, be consistent with the plan. Stick with it. And that's how you build an aesthetic, armor-plated chest. But as always, bro, you know my message. Keep building, keep progressing, and I'll catch you in the next one.